Talking to stones in Bulgaria. In the two previous videos in this three-part series that answer the fundamental questions about the pyramids of Bulgaria, we found out when they were built and who built them. From a chronological perspective, pyramid building fits best in the Middle Miocene, 12 to 16 million years ago. And based on Rudolf Steiner's account of the Akasha Chronicles, we can identify two epochs of humanity for the different periods of megalith building in Bulgaria: the Lemurian and Atlantean. So why did the Lemurians and Atlanteans build pyramids? It was an early epoch of humanity when they did not have language, they did not know how to plan or measure, and had not yet developed conceptual thinking. And yet, they had the impulse to build so many and such huge megalithic sites. A Lemurian had tools, erected buildings. This he owed not to his own powers of conception, but to a mental force in him, which was instinctive. They could control and use the forces of nature to transform it, and they could augment their own strength, but they relied on instinct. They had no plan or preconceived intention to initiate such a mammoth undertaking. The intention was not theirs. So whose idea was it to build pyramids? Where did the spark originate? In this final video, we will answer the third and final fundamental question: why did they build pyramids? Why do we find patterns in the layout of the pyramids? Megalithic sites in Bulgaria are built in precise locations to form patterns that reflect constellations like Orion and its relation to the star system Sirius. Clusters of megaliths are an expression of the movement of the planets like Venus, and stones are precisely laid out to imitate Earth's position in relation to the Sun and Moon. The location of the pyramids that Rudolf Steiner probably references as their temples was given from above, because their purpose was to cherish the pouring down of cosmic harmony like the rays of the sun. Man guarded the powers granted to him as a strict divine secret, and that he led a life through which he sanctified his power. For in their temples they participated in direct contemplation of the active forces of nature. They looked into the creative workshop of nature. They experienced a communion with the beings which build the world itself. One can call this communication an association with the gods. Divine cosmic harmony infused the Lemurians and Atlanteans. They were an integral part of the planetary dance. They understood it. The more malleable and transformable bodies of early humans at a time when matter was not so dense also meant that their bony skull was not yet closed off. Like the unicorn, they were still open and connected to the heavens above. The women lived in the manner described above. They looked into the creative workshop of nature They experienced a communion with the beings which build the world itself. One can call this communication an association with the gods. They thereby developed special human powers. Their faculty of imagination, which was in alliance with nature, became the basis for a higher development of the life of ideas. Whilst the Lemurian men developed the will that harnesses energy to transform nature, it is Lemurian women who transmitted the images of cosmic harmony reflected inside them. The mysterious rhythms which one had heard from nature were imitated by the movement of the limbs. One thereby felt at one with nature and with the powers acting in her. The Lemurian women informed the men of the patterns to follow in the layout of the megalithic sites. Together, they built a mirror of the heavens above. We are the witnesses to a 4D map of the heavens etched into Earth's crust. The map includes depth and movement of the planetary bodies. The message is there if we are ready to listen. Why are the pyramids built in this way? What does the position of the pyramids, their design and alignments, tell us about why they were built? The shape of a pyramid, with its wide base on the ground and its summit pointing to the stars, is a clear indication of the purpose of the builders. They were reaching for the skies to communicate with the heavens. Steiner's account of the Akasha Chronicles tells us how the Lemurian women were infused by the divine, the cosmic harmony that raised down to earth. They sanctified the sun. And we see it in the design of the double pyramids like Banya, Ostrets, Pazderite. They are aligned northwest to southeast or east to west, as if moving in the direction of the sun. The temple localities, what was cultivated there was divine wisdom and art. They were colleges of willpower for men and of the clairvoyant power of the imagination for women. The divine wisdom is the greatness of creation that could be felt in all things by the Lemurians and early Atlanteans. They replicated it in their constructions, hence the angle of megalithic edifices like Ostrets and Sopot, where the slope is 52 degrees, the same as the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is a reference to the golden ratio found everywhere in nature. It is an expression of cosmic harmony. The Lemurian women could feel it, and the Lemurian men could reproduce it. And as time progressed, megalithic constructions became more sophisticated. We see it in the tetrahedron in Rozovets and the standing stones that form a pyramid. Toward the end of this Lemurian period, the buildings which served for the cultivation of divine wisdom and divine art became more and more imposing and ornate. Why did they produce such huge megaliths? Simply put, because they could. Atmospheric conditions on Earth were different at the time. maybe gravity too. And they had the intuitive knowledge of plants and stones to harness the power of nature in order to transform it. The purpose of the megaliths was to sanctify the sun. Why are the stones laid out in specific patterns? At megalithic sites in Bulgaria, the stones are laid out purposefully to face south towards the sun, and they are often laid out by threes reminding us of the moon. We also find numbers in the layout of the stones that are associated with Venus in more sophisticated constructions, like the standing stones. Man exercised the forces of nature. Woman became the first interpreter of them. It was a special new manner of living through reflection which developed here. The word reflection is central here. The pyramid builders reflected the universe around them. They were just an extension of the cosmic order on Earth. Just like Earth is but an extension of the planetary system that surrounds it, humanity was and is as dependent on Earth as Earth is dependent on the other planets. Why is there a marked difference in the shape of the megaliths at different periods? The development of consciousness went in parallel with the development of man's body, nature, and the density of matter. As humans evolved, matter became denser. Their bodies became less malleable and harder, and they progressively lost the capacity of their supersensible organs of perception. They closed in on themselves like a rock. As a trade-off, they acquired more precise organs of external perception, such as sight, hearing, taste, and touch. We see this in the quality of the finishing of the stones at later sites like Slanchevo, as well as in the two earlier epochs of megalith building. The Lemurians, who had more blurred vision according to Rudolf Steiner, produced larger but rougher and lumpier stones. Later, during the early Atlantean epoch, the stones were smaller but better shaped and rounded with a more polished finishing. Why do the stones contain lines of quartz blocks? We find diagonal lines of quartz blocks in stones that date back to the later Atlantean epoch. And at multiple sites, we find grid lines of quartz that form a network underpinning entire megalithic sites, like a grid of electrical cables. These probably date back to the earlier Lemurian epoch. Why was quartz so important to the pyramid builders? The Lemurian derived his strengths of his ideas from the objects that surrounded him. It flowed to him from the energy of growth of plants, from the life force of animals. In this manner, he understood plants and animals in their inner action and life. He even understood the physical and chemical forces of lifeless objects in the same way. Rudolf Steiner uses the word understood not as an intellectual understanding. The Lemurian had not yet developed the faculty of conceptual thought which comes with language. The Lemurian, like the early Atlantean, could feel. He had the capacity to feel the power of quartz and granite and how it connects to earth and the cosmos, and he knew how to use it to serve his purposes. The purpose of the quartz is to create an energetic connection between Earth and the cosmos. The minerals in the stone are the antenna that transmits the communication with the heavens above. This capacity to feel and harness the forces of nature and implicitly Earth and the cosmos diminished with each stage of human evolution and the development of consciousness. What thus was one within with respect to the faculty of thought was lost with respect to the control of external forces. It is a universal law that each time a new faculty develops in an organism, an old faculty loses power and acuteness. Two becomes one. Evolution requires sacrifice. The pyramid builders felt the movement of the planets, Earth's tilt, the layout of constellations, and the influence of the cosmos on Earth and man. We see it in the location of the pyramids and their position and alignments, and we see it too in the shape and composition of the stones. They had no free will or conceptual thinking. They just replicated what they felt. They were an extension of the cosmos on Earth. The intention was not theirs. So where did the impulse come from? The pyramids give us the answer. They point to the heavens above, as if to tell us who gave the original impulse. And inversely, the pyramids are like the rays of the sun pouring down to spread their goodness on earth. The pyramids are an expression of divine art and wisdom. It is the Creator who expresses himself through his creation, man, as a conscious being. The pyramids are an extension of the same impulse that brought Earth into being. The spark, the raga, the original idea that seeks consciousness through material realization. Asking why the pyramids were built is like asking why Earth is here and we exist. We, humanity, Earth, the pyramids, are the art of divine wisdom. The microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm. In the words of Rudolf Steiner, what is within us is like a copy of the great archetype that exists outside. Light created the eyes. Without eyes, we would not see the light. The world would remain dark for us. If light did not exist, we would not have eyes. The light enticed the organs of sight out of the organism. And quoting Goethe, the eye is created by the light for the light, the ear by the sound for the sound. Everything is born from the macrocosm. The pyramids are created by wisdom for wisdom. They are the rays of sun that shine back on the Creator. By building the pyramids, man realizes the I Am. They are the first expressions of humanity's consciousness that is both earthly and divine, material in its form and spiritual in its impulse.